For this month's Scraps to Go kit, we'll be making handmade suede bound journals. In your kit, you'll find the cover, suede, the paper, leather cording to wrap around, needle and thread, the piercing and kind of bone folder tool there, and then the fusing tape. The first step is going to be to prepare the cover. So the suede soft part goes on the outside, this kind of more fabric part goes on the inside. So I want the suede side down, and I'm going to take the paper and center it between the top and the bottom. And I want to have the cover just kind of graze the paper edge. So I'm going to fold it there, take out the paper, and then I'm going to use the fusing tape to hold it in between the two pieces of fabric to hold that fold there. And so I have an iron prepared here, and we'll get to ironing. So I've got the bottom line here nice and done. I'm just going to match up the paper again with that bottom fold, and I'll find where I'm going to fold my top line here, and then I'll repeat the process again. So I finished ironing all of my edges with the tape inside. I'm going to trim up some of these little pieces that are sticking out, and then we'll go on to the next step, which is attaching the paper to the cover. So now that is done for the cover, and that looks nice and neat, the next thing I'm going to do is take my stack of papers and my tool. I'm going to fold each one in half and then use this flat edge to crease the middle. I'm going to do that for each one of these. So they're all stacked together. Once they're folded here, I'm going to just do another couple of passes over the crease. And the next thing you'll need is your ruler. We're going to open up these pages again, find the middle one. So I'll show you here. So right along the crease, we're going to find the center, and then you're going to go close to the edges. I'm going to do it at the 1/4 inch mark, and then you're going to find in the halfway mark in between there. And now that those are all marked, we're going to take our piercing tool and we're going to make a hole at each of those marks all the way through the paper. So once all the pages are punched through, you are going to use the same template and punch the holes through your suede. So you'll lay one piece of paper over the suede, line it up nice and even. You can use paper clips here or any kind of clip to hold the fabric together with the paper. If you have a piece of cardboard, you can lay it underneath, and that way you can just go through. You don't have to worry about lifting the paper. And I'm just making these holes significantly sized so that I can make sure I see them in the fabric on this side. So I'm just kind of going through again. So the next step is going to be to put all the papers back on top, and we're going to sew the signature, the stack of papers, onto the cover. So in your instructions you will find a little diagram that looks like this, and it's going to show you how to sew it. So you're going to go in from the inside through the outside and pull that all the way through, leaving about a 4-inch tail on the inside. And then we're going to come from the outside in through our next hole back to the inside. And this is where keeping everything together would have been nice. So I'll find that hole. Okay. So we're back in. And make sure I leave that tail. And now we're going back from the inside through the bottom hole to the outside. And now back from the outside through the hole we previously went through. You'll see it right there. And now we're skipping over the middle hole, and we're going to the next one up and back to the outside. And then from the outside in through the top hole, back to the inside, then down to the next hole, just pulling everything there, back to the outside, and then finally back in through the first middle hole. Okay. We'll pull it tight and then tie a square knot through. Okay, so if you want to use maybe a different color thread and do a couple different lines through just for an artistic touch, you definitely can. Our next step though will be to now attach the cord that's going to wrap around our journal and keep it closed. Okay, I brought up my cutting mat here and I went ahead and I ironed the binding side of the journal just so it sits a little bit flatter. And it looks like it's coming together pretty nicely here. So the next step is going to be to attach our leather cording here. And so I have my cutting mat. Again, if you have one of these, that's awesome. If you don't, you can use a piece of cardboard. Yeah, whatever you have is great. So I'm gonna find the midway point of my journal here. And then I'm gonna make 3 cuts on this side of the fabric that's like overhanging here. So just 3 very small cuts, and I'm going to do them the first 2 about like a 1/4 of an inch apart, and then the next one maybe a 1/2 inch from there. So just very small cuts, just to barely fit the piece of cording through. If you have just your poker here, that's fine too. You can probably just poke a couple of holes, and that should suffice. But if you have a blade, that works really great as well. So now that I have those through, I want to put these through, and I want the inside to be on this longer piece of fabric that's behind my pages. So I'm going to start through that first hole and try to put it through there. And if I need to make it a little bit bigger, I can here. And then I can use my little poker or the needle to get it through the hole if I need some help, which I think I will here. I made them pretty small. And so once I get it through the hole, then I'm going to weave it through the next 2. Alright. I'll leave a good amount of the tail right there. I'm going to start it off just with ironing a little piece. I'm going to trim a piece of the fusion tape behind it, and then I'm going to use my leftover embroidery thread and tie it a couple times, and that should give it a good hold. So we'll trim this first. And I don't want it to touch my iron, so I just have it underneath. It's very closely cut to the size of the cord, and then we'll go ahead and... So once that's ironed and securely on there, you can choose to stop here if you like. That might be a good enough hold to, to keep that closed for a while. It is relatively strong stuff. And so that's just going to wrap around your journal and tuck in there. And you can give this an iron on this side too to keep that side closed. So there's your little journal right there. If you want to make it a little bit more secure, you can always take your embroidery thread and give a couple stitches, either maybe around the cording or even through it. It's up to you. You can even add an inside cover if you like, if you have a nice cardstock or another piece of fabric to go over this. You'll just have to re-sew your binding on top. So really from here you can customize it any way you like, but this is our little journal here. And now we can use it for keeping track of our thoughts, maybe a travel journal, maybe a sketch pad. This is really nice paper for pencil, ink, even a marker should be fine on it without bleeding too much to the other side. It's up to you. You can make whatever you want from here.